I'm male 39, had a kid with my ex-girlfriend when we were 18, but I've never really had a close relationship with her. The child's name is Darla, 21. Darla's mom and I broke up before she even found out she was pregnant, and although she insisted that I was the father of her baby, I always doubted it. I know it's a possibility, but also, there's a possibility she's not my daughter. However, I was pressured by my parents to give her my last name and pay a small amount of childcare, which I wasn't even paying myself because I didn't have a job at the time. As I said, I never really had a relationship with Darla, but I would see her every once in a while when she was in my parents' house with her mother. Darla's mom hates me for whatever reason, so that made our relationship even more distant. When I was 25, I met a woman, 38, in college. She had a 4-year-old kid, Brian, at the time. After dating for some time, we got married, and we have 2 more kids together. I've raised Brian almost his whole life as his father wasn't in the picture, so I consider him my son, and he also considers me his dad. He's going to college this year, so I paid completely for his education. However, Darla's mom got furious when she found out because I hadn't done the same to Darla. Apparently, she's going to college this year too, as her mom didn't have enough money to pay for her tuition, and she had to work to pay for it. She's turned some of my own family against me, and now they're calling me an idiot because of my favoritism towards my son. I think it's obvious that I would pay for his tuition because I did have a relationship with Brian, but not with Darla. But maybe I should have helped her. Am I the idiot for paying for my stepson's college tuition? Darla's mom hates me for whatever reason. Oh, it's clear there are many good reasons. You are the idiot. Obviously, at 39, you still have the maturity of an entitled child who doesn't see how your actions are harmful. He denies paternity, admits to never paying child support, and acts like he was wronged by being called out for deadbeat behavior. But of course, he can't bring himself to figure out why Darla's mother may hate him. He punished an innocent child and didn't provide anything for her all these years. He's a selfish loser. Darla's mom hates you because you were a deadbeat dad. I wasn't ready to be a dad isn't a valid excuse. It doesn't matter that you weren't ready. You don't get to skip away and leave her with all the responsibility financially, emotionally, and physically raising your kid. Darla is yours. You should have manned up and taken responsibility for your actions. If you were so set against it, you should have confirmed paternity. Instead, you chose to parent a child who's not biologically yours, but never wanted to parent a child who's your flesh and blood. Wow, you don't see the problem here? But don't you understand why? Brian was 4 when OP met his wife, and Brian's deadbeat dad wasn't in the picture, so OP had to step in and become Brian's surrogate father. Think of how Brian's life would have been so terrible without a father figure. What an idiot. OP, if you're so sure your daughter's not your daughter, why didn't you get a paternity test when she was born? Oh, I know. Because you know perfectly well that you're her biological father, and you didn't want proof of that. Better to claim doubt as your reason for failing to step up for your kid and leaving her 18-year-old mother to raise her alone. Clearly, even your own parents don't believe this "she might not be my kid" BS. If your family's against you, that's your doing, no one else's. Agree, he's had over 2 decades to test the DNA if he's sure it's not his kid. He chose not to because he knows it's his. He just doesn't want to be responsible for Darla for whatever reason. It's weird all around because he shows such deadbeat behavior on one side, but then he's dropping money to pay for the boys' college on the other. Wow. Have you ever wondered how your daughter feels about this? About having an absent father who practically denies her existence while playing doting dad to his stepchild? Did you even want a relationship with her? Because obviously, your parents have a relationship with her. Maybe you can grovel a bit and establish a relationship with Darla at some point. You made a baby, but have spent the last 21 years doing the minimum. My husband and I own a 3-bed, 2-bath house. It's just us, so our 2 spare rooms and extra bathroom don't see much use. We can't afford our mortgage, but since I'm about to return to school, some extra cash to offset the cost would be nice. So we'll rent out the spare rooms. We've advertised that we have 2 rooms available and are looking for individual tenants for each room, who will sign their own lease. We consulted a lawyer, and we're legally in the clear. We don't want couples or kids. Well, we've had a bunch of single parents who can't read, I guess, go to apply and then say something like, oh, I want both rooms, and my kid or kids will be taking the second. Then when I tell them I'm looking for 2 individuals who can sign their own leases, they get mad because the kids obviously can't, and then they bash on me for keeping them from finding housing for their kids. I've had this happen at least 4 times, and my friends all think it's reasonable to be picky about who I'll live with. My parents have given me crap for it. My parents are mostly giving me crap because there's a housing crisis here, but I don't exactly see them housing anyone's kids, so am I the idiot for not renting to anyone with kids? Hey, single mom here. Not the idiot. So much not the idiot. You're renting rooms, not apartments. Kids change everything in a living situation, and they cause a load of wear and tear. Yes, if it were an apartment or something, a case could be made for this being wrong, but just rooms in their house? Nope, not even a little bit. OP, next time your parents give you crap, ask them how many single moms and their kids they're renting extra rooms in their house to. Right? My stepdaughter and her kid moved in temporarily, and the toddler, peeled off the surface of the bedroom door, has ruined the woven blinds by picking at threads, coated the floor and herself in poop, drew all over the walls she could reach with sidewalk chalk. She has a habit of finding accessible electrical plugs and yanking the cords into unusability, which is also dangerous, and why she got screamed at yesterday. Kids are no joke. You are the idiot. Sorry to ruin your streak. The story was whatever, until the little comment at the end about your folks not housing anyone's kids. I think it's crappy that you won't rent to a parent and a kid, but I guarantee they're far more likely to be less hassle than 2 random single adults looking for a rented room. You say it's reasonable to be picky, and I hate to break it to you, but it's actually not. If you're not ready for that, you should truly not be renting rooms inside your home. So you want single adults. How picky do you plan on being from there when they prove income and credit? Agree. You have the room and the financial security to give a single parent a safe place to raise their kid, and instead, you decide you'd rather rake in the profits of renting out the rooms separately. You're like every other landlord out there, but that is indeed your right to do so. My sister's getting married soon to Nino. As part of the pre-wedding celebrations, our family's visiting Nino's family in Italy. My dad is very good friends with Nino's dad and uncle, as they all grew up together. So this isn't our first time meeting most of them. Nico has a cousin, Luca, who I made an enemy out of when I was 9 because I told our dads that he pushed me into the water when I actually slipped, and he got into a boatload of trouble. I hadn't seen him since we were children, so I thought he'd be over it by now, but he very clearly wasn't and seemed to hate my guts, judging by how he looked at me. He's going to be Nino's best man, and since I was supposed to be the maid of honor, I thought it would be good for us to put the past behind us. So I tried to apologize to him multiple times in English, but he acted like he couldn't understand, and he only spoke Italian around me. I asked Nino to translate my apology for me, but he told me it would mean more if I said it to him myself in Italian to show that I was genuinely sorry. He taught me how to say what I wanted to say, but Luca was never alone, so I was finding it hard to find a chance to apologize. One day he was sitting with a group outside, and Nino told me to say it in front of everybody since Luca was avoiding me. So I said it, and everybody who spoke Italian found it hilarious. I had no idea what was so funny until Luca asked me to repeat what I said in English. I tried to apologize in English, but he told me to say it in Italian. After I said it, he stood up and told me to come inside with him, and he would have passionate intimacy with me. I was angry and embarrassed, so I told him to stop being disgusting, and he told me that that was what I had just said to him. Nino found it hilarious, as did everybody else. I yelled at him and so did my sister. I told them I wouldn't be the maid of honor anymore because the groom was an idiot. My sister's begging me not to drop out of her wedding and has told Nino to apologize multiple times. But I still don't want to do it or be around Luca and Nino any more than necessary. Am I the idiot? Seriously, what kind of brother-in-law is that? He clearly doesn't respect you. What does he think he would achieve with this prank? You shouldn't be guilty about not wanting to be a maid of honor anymore, and your sister should understand your side. even if she has to ask him multiple times to apologize. If I were her, I would have to think about if I wanted to be with someone like that for the rest of my life. I would never marry a man who would publicly humiliate my sister by tricking her into making such explicit statements. OP is not the idiot. She should skip the wedding, and her sister should skip the marriage. Not the idiot. First, you were kids. We all make mistakes when we're kids. The fact that Luca's still holding a grudge over that makes him an idiot. Second, Nino took advantage of your desire to make things right for the wedding and your lack of knowledge of Italian to provide entertainment for him based on good humiliation makes him a huge idiot. Third, good for your sister for yelling at Nino with you, but her thinking an apology will fix it and make it better, and her begging you not to back out, makes her a small idiot. Do not back down on this. Nino chose his behavior, and now he and your sister have to face the consequences of that behavior. Yes, it sucks that your sister had to find another bridesmaid on short notice, but that's Nico's fault and his problem to fix. Why is wanting to hold a grudge for a long time being taken as an idiot? Luca never went out of the way to humiliate OP. He didn't want to have anything to do with her. None of us know what he went through because of that one lie from OP, which he might not want to have anything to do with her. Didn't Luca join in on the joke? I'm guessing Luca does in fact speak English, as he invited OP into the house. He told her to repeat the phrase in Italian again in front of everyone, and frankly, it seems pretty clear he was in on the prank with the groom. OP tried to apologize for her crappy childhood behavior. Instead, they decided as adults to humiliate her as revenge. Anyone who thinks this was reasonable or okay is as big a stinker as Nino and Luca. I, 29 male, recently argued about money with my girlfriend, 28. About 2 years ago, I received a large inheritance from a wealthy aunt. Honestly, we weren't very close, and I wasn't expecting to get anything. She left behind a couple of million worth in assets, most of which went to her kids. I was surprised that she left me $50,000. Each of my siblings and cousins got the same amount. When I got the money, I used most of it to pay off the rest of my student loans. Next, I bought a new computer and put the rest towards retirement. Recently, my girlfriend was hanging out with one of my female cousins when she heard about the money we all got. This triggered an argument the next time we saw each other about why I was keeping this a secret from her and why I never offered to use it to help her with her own debt. I told her that it wasn't really a secret, it was just something I never really felt a need to talk about. I got the money and used most of it immediately. There was nothing left to talk about. She was upset at that, saying I should have talked about it with her first and that the money could have helped her back then. I was baffled because when I got the inheritance, we'd only been seeing each other for a couple of months, way too early for that kind of financial entanglement. She got even more upset and said I should use some of it for her now, but I once again told her the money was gone. All that's left is in a retirement account, and I'm not touching that. We argued back and forth some more, and I got the sense that she didn't quite believe me about the money and thought I had more left than I said I did. Nothing I could say would convince her otherwise. All I could do was emphasize that everything left from the inheritance was in a retirement account that I would not touch. Finally, she called me selfish and left to stay with her sister. We've been in sort of a cold war for about a week, and I can't help but wonder if I did something wrong. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot because it's your money, and also it's pretty funny that $50,000 is considered wealth. It's a game changer for someone living paycheck to paycheck, but when you said wealth, I figured you were holding a couple of $100,000 from your partner, not a windfall that had already been spent. Your girlfriend sounds like a red flag. This woman has zero rights to your inheritance. It was gifted to you, and she's incredibly entitled to think it could have been used to clear some of her debts. You don't owe her anything, and don't let her manipulate you into sacrificing your retirement fund. I also wouldn't leave the details of your finances around. It sounds like she could help herself, or at the very least, go snooping through your financial history. She's not your wife. She does not share in the inheritance. She has no say in what you did with it. Time for you to thoroughly reconsider this relationship. At this point, I'd honestly have doubts. She feels so entitled to what's yours, just because she's your girlfriend. My sister Dana just had a loss less than 5 days ago, which is why I told Nina, 24 female, and Kevin, 24 male, that they were insensitive. My family just had a family dinner, and we mainly spent the entire time comforting Dana, as that is what the family dinner was mainly about. But then Nina and Kevin said they had an announcement to make. They said that they were expecting their first baby, and Dana immediately started crying. Once her husband calmed her down, and I told them they were very inconsiderate to announce that, especially considering this event was about Dana, not them. Also, the wound is still so fresh, so they definitely could have waited to announce, or just not announce it where Dana was around. Not to mention, Nina's only 6 weeks pregnant, so she definitely could have waited to announce. Also, it's not ideal to announce pregnancy so early, due to the high risk of pregnancy. Nina and Kevin told me that the world didn't revolve around Dana, and that they had every right to announce the pregnancy. I told them that the world didn't revolve around Dana, but that doesn't change the fact that they were still inconsiderate to announce a pregnancy when we were legitimately comforting someone who had just recently had a loss. They ended up leaving after realizing everyone was on my side and told us that we were all toxic for being on Dana's side when they did nothing wrong. Nina and Kevin definitely could have waited another day to announce it, or made another meeting to announce it, instead of doing it at an event that wasn't about them. So, am I the idiot? Nina and Kevin definitely could have waited another day. A day? They could have waited another 6 weeks. There's a reason why people don't announce pregnancies this early. They hurt a woman who's in that exact situation right now. No, they were huge idiots. The whole entire ordeal was organized to comfort Dana, not for your brother and his wife to announce their pregnancy. Highly insensitive on their behalf, and sure, the world doesn't revolve around Dana, but at that time it did. Why would you want to announce your pregnancy at that point anyway? Read the room. It sounds like Nina and Kevin got jealous of Dana's attention and wanted to shift it to themselves. They probably thought everyone would gush at their callous announcement, and it rightfully backfired. Not the idiot OP. I would pay these two dust in the future. Unfortunately, they ruined their own baby announcement. Everyone's the idiot here. The event was about Dana and comforting her, so to announce then was very inconsiderate. But for the record, the stigma of announcing a pregnancy before 12 weeks isn't great. Things can happen between 12 weeks and 40 weeks too, and often do. You can't shame someone for wanting to share the excitement as soon as possible. That's their choice.